Amen.
Yo, what's going on, West Side? How y'all feeling out there today? You know how we do every Sunday from 6 to 8. We welcome y'all to Northwest Austin Council. Listen, we always tell you because you need to know. There's multiple ways of interacting with our show. We got the Facebook, the YouTube, and the Zoom. If you're on that Facebook or that YouTube, make sure you subscribe, right? That way you can keep track of what we're doing every Sunday because we bring it to you every Sunday. Make sure you like just because you like us, you know what I mean? But that also helps with that algorithm process to keep us, you know what I mean, in the front of people's mentals. You feel me? If you comment, we can see and put it directly into the show. That way you can interact with us. If you don't want to be on one of those, you know what I mean? If you want to remain nameless, faceless, and everything, but you do got an opinion, we want to hear from you. Make sure you comment. The last thing you can do, which will help us tremendously as we talk about West Side people doing West Side things, is share. Right? It takes nothing. It takes nothing for you to share the broadcast so other people can know what we got going on. You know what I mean? Listen. It's a beautiful Sunday. It was a very beautiful Sunday. I just came back from seeing Thor: Love and Thunder. It's a good movie, man. I like Marvel. Marvel got all my money for the next 20 years. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. You know what I mean? I was never a comic book guy like that, but I am a comic movie guy like that. And Marvel movies are some of the best movies that, because they're fun, man. They're fun, they're light, they're loose. And we need that in this time, man, because everything can't always be about the dangers of the ills of the ghetto. And so they created a good franchise, man, that I really thoroughly enjoy. So I just want to say that. And I'm still celebrating too. You know what I mean? I just completed my dissertation proposal, right? Which is one of the major hurdles of the dissertation or the PhD journey, I should say. Feeling good about that because at this point, the next two things up on the list for me to do is to create a survey in which I go out and I recruit individuals to be a part of the study that I'm going to run.
Right.
One of the things that I'm super excited about is the fact that my study will involve the African American community, only African Americans, because even as the APA put it, sometime around March of this year, they've thoroughly neglected this community. They rarely, if ever, run studies that are led by Black scientists that are for the Black community, and they've admitted that. And so, one of the things that I get to do is I get to use my skills, my abilities, and my experience from being here in the neighborhood to craft a training program that will help develop individuals from this community for this community. So I'm looking and I'm looking forward to that, and I'm very excited to do that because not too often do we get that, right? So I'm still celebrating. I passed that this Thursday, and I've been kicking back and trying to relax and just enjoy this short time that I have before I got to get right back to work, which will be Monday, tomorrow. So, work never stops. But I'm just excited and happy about being able to complete that and, amongst other things. So that's just a little bit about myself, man, like how we kick it off all the time, man. I always got to go right on over to Steve, man. Steve, what you got going on, man?
Like you said, it's a good day today. The weather's looking good. But you know what we never did touch on? We never did touch base on the shooting that happened up in Highland Park. Highland Park.
Yeah, because it happened on the 4th.
Yeah, and we need to talk about that because for some reason
the 4th was Sunday, wasn't it? No, the 4th of July fell on
Monday, I think.
Yeah, right. Okay, right. Well, that's why we ain't talk about it. We ain't come on Monday.
Right.
Okay, right. All right. I'm like, hold on. We didn't miss it, right? Okay.
About how that all panned out because it's still talked about, today. And unfortunately, and a number of people lost their lives, just this act of violence. But I got a lot of calls from relatives all over asking me, are you okay? Is everything all right up there? And I'm like, we get 30 to 50 people shot every week.
Every weekend.
This is going on for a decade or more, So
man.
It's not, I hate to sound like it's starting to become I'm becoming very numb to this because it happens so frequently.
Yeah.
And it's just very unfortunate that we can't go to parades, we can't go to grocery stores, we can't go to churches, We can't go to, we can't even leave our neighborhoods. Can't leave out our homes pretty much. But it's just it's a sad state of time of the times that we live in, and we need to look at why is this, let's just say, getting so much coverage. It's getting so much coverage now.
If we're gonna be honest with ourselves, the biggest reason why it's getting so much coverage is because of color. You know what I mean? Because Highland Park is a affluent white neighborhood, and the reason why I say that is because how many people? But then again, you know what? Listen, all mass shooters ain't created the same. We have an inordinate amount of shootings that can be referred to as mass shootings, but we never, at least to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, we've never had a shooting where 7 people got killed in one instance and like 22 more were injured, which is what took place over in like Highland Park area. You know,
right.
So
but that number 7 might be there, but
oh yeah, well no,
oh yeah.
In one sitting like that.
Yeah, I know of one that happened in Inglewood. They came in the house.
Oh wow!
And this, one of the law enforcement officers was telling me, because he was there on the scene. It was like 6 people on one floor, and then another person upstairs. He said it was bad. It was all inside the house.
Yeah.
And that's happened. 7 people is a small number for Chicago.
Yeah.
There's been mass shootings like that. I mean, I always go back to the mass shooting that happened down in 92, 93 on Mason. 1200 Mason. There was 15 people shot at one time, and I think 5 to 7 died. It was an odd number. I can't remember the number, but I mean, it happens. You just don't. You may not get 32 at one time.
Right.
But
yeah. I mean, but like you said, collectively, man, there's a wide range of individuals that get shot, man. You know, it's far reaching. It really is.
And the crazy part about it, again, to me, like you said, I see it's getting a lot of coverage. We get coverage in the city, but it's always negative coverage when you see it. It's always, well, they were down here and they got shot. It's like there's never people getting a GoFundMe for the people and everything like that.
Right.
So
you know what I found interesting? I was reading on with some of that about the outcome of that, and there was a gentleman, I'm not going to remember names or anything, but he said he went to his son, and asked him, like, what is going on with the people of your age? Like, why is this happening?
Right.
And he said that, honestly, the media's coverage of these guys is what the problem is. He said, not to take nothing away from the mental health aspects and all of that could, be serious issues. Mm-hmm. But he was saying, like, a lot of these guys get no attention from their parents. They're probably outcast socially. May not have found a group or a tribe yet. And in some respects, you don't find that until, you get adult age. Mm-hmm. A lot of these cats that be doing this, these are younger men, that's really doing this, more often than not. And he was saying, the sheer fact that they become sensationalized all across the news, now they got eyes and attention on them, and I thought that was interesting because that's a parallel to what happens in our community too. Like our Black children don't necessarily take guns into schools and try to execute individuals, but they do take guns to the next man and try to execute him, and do so, without care of what's gonna happen.
That's been going on for a while.
And that's been going on for a while, but as we say too, a large part of it has to do with the fact that these kids don't get any attention. You know what I mean? Maybe it's male attention that they're seeking that they typically don't have. Maybe father's not at home. As we talked about on our Father's Day panel, very hard to get other men to do stuff that they don't want to do. You know what I mean? It's only so many men to go around. I mean, if you got a family of 5, I hope you aren't expected to take in another 5, young Black youth. that don't have a father, you know what I mean? Like, because everybody don't have that same capacity. But we talk about that, right? Especially as it relates to the men that are doing like the drug dealing and everything. We talk about how we walk right past them, won't say anything to them. You know what I mean? And generally, because they are unseen, they feel worthless, invaluable, and then they go pick up a gun and they go take somebody's life, and now they get news coverage, and they're gonna go to that box where somebody gonna look at them every day. Right, you know what I'm saying? Speak to them every day. So parallels, man. And to that end, it's like, what do you do? What can you do? How do you rectify the situation when, again, these kids may literally just be calling out for attention, and as an adult, we don't have the type of attention that they need. We can't give it to them the way they need. Maybe, you know, I'm not saying we can't, but maybe we can. You know how? But how do we go about it?
Anybody? Miss J, you got any answers to these questions? Talk to us. Can you hear me, Miss Jacobs? She'll be there. Miss Jacobs, can you hear me? Edie Jacobs, can you respond to that?
This I think I saw Ella. Is Ella still on it?
How about you, Ella? Can you respond to that?
Well, first thing I think this is gonna continue until we ban the assault rifles, get them off the market, stop these little idiots from getting them. And you know, most of all, I don't think these people who are doing these mass shootings are so-called mentally ill, what I call mentally ill. I just think they're just evil. They want to get a recognition and a name for themselves. And to me, characteristic that these boys have is drug-induced psychosis. Is because of the drug abuse. If they stop using the drugs, then they'll become more here in this world. But it's the drugs. And it changes something in their brains that make them stupid. They want to go out and kill people. You know, we all got some symptom of mental illness in ourselves. We have paranoia. We have some phobias.
Right.
We have all of them. But I just don't think all these mass killers are mentally ill. Like I just think they're plain evil, want attention, and have an opportunity. What young man you know can buy a $1,400 rifle and have an arsenal? Somebody's giving this boy all his money. He had no job. He had no means of income. So where's this money coming from? So he can purchase these weapons.
Well, again, if we talk about that particular young man, his family lives in Highland Park. His father was about to tried to run for mayor out there. They also have a family grocery store. So they're not a poor family, and they are a community-oriented family, according to, what you read. So it's like, you're right. It's definitely not necessarily mental health. It is other things at play, and it's unexplainable, and it's sad.
Well, she just said a couple things. She brought up the issue about regulations on guns. Well, what if it wasn't a long rifle, an assault rifle? What if it was just a regular handgun? What if it was just a regular 22 long hunting rifle?
Yeah.
I mean,
because even our kids are using regular pistols with a switch on it, and them things shoot just like they fully automate these weapons, and they make them shoot a whole clip in less than a minute. Right. That's the same thing. It's the same thing. And when you get caught with one, you get fed time right off the bat.
And it seems like not a lot of people getting caught with them.
Nope.
It's the strangest thing.
Nope.
Nope. You never hear anybody, man. Where you been? I've been up the river because I got fair time for a clip.
Yep.
Or what? A switch.
A switch.
Switch.
Yeah. And these cats, man, they put 100-round drums on these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and not all the time it's the assault on the ban on assault rifles. You know, necessarily the quick fix because there is other alternatives.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But let's talk about the other issue. You said that there's something to do with drugs. Now you talking weed, marijuana? You talking, opioids? Are you talking heroin? Are you talking, what do you mean when you say drugs? Are they taking LSD or what is it? Ella?
I'm talking about all of it. In the old days, when they had weed, it had no chemicals on it. Anytime there's chemicals placed on any kind of anything you take, it alters your brain. It kills brain cells. It messes up your mind. Chemicals on this weed and stuff, it's like even everybody got some symptoms of something happening to their brain. Their thinking is impaired.
Right.
So, those chemicals on this stuff, we had purple haze or blue lightning or whatever it was in our days. We had the mint leaf. We had the
happy stick.
I can't think of the name of it. But everybody who did those drugs other than weed from the earth were crazy as a Bessie bug.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And you can tell.
Oh yeah.
You can tell. So now since the chemicals are even more potent and stronger, it's doing more damage. And they think they're getting high feeling good when actually they're becoming crazy. And I think that if they ban the assault rifles, that's a start. We have to cross each bridge as we get to it.
Yeah.
The regular 22s and the whatever else. I don't know that much about guns, but all that other stuff, we're going to have to take it step by step. And the R14, 15, whatever, it mutilates the body. It really destroys your whole body.
What are you talking about? You talking about assault rifles?
Yeah, the assault rifles to tear your body apart.
Oh yeah.
Right. I heard that on the news today how those victims, those kids at the schools couldn't be identified because their bodies were so mutilated by gunshots.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And so, we have to start somewhere. We can always find some way to say, what about this, what about that? But we have to start somewhere. Right now, we're not doing anything. And when I say we, I mean our politicians. They're not even acting upon it. It's just a song and dance with them. It's not my family. It's not in my neighborhood. So now it's in Highland Park, rich white people, and everybody want to gather and go rah, rah, rah. It's been happening to black people for ages.
Yeah.
And it still is. And the few people out there that supporting us, they don't have the money backing that we need.
Yeah.
And our politicians are not doing what they're supposed to do about it. Some are, but most aren't.
You know what's odd? That we've gotten to a point where we're saying, you know what? The bullets are really mutilating the dead people. That's sad.
I didn't get that.
No, well, like you said, they made a comment. Media has made the comment that the kids were really mutilated by the bullets, but they're dead. They're dead anywhere it goes, and that's the sad part in itself. But when we have to say that our dead can't even just look normal after you shoot them, can we please have that? That's a sad state of the situation. When we have to think about it in that sense, I think about, I'm not saying that you said that, but I'm saying you repeated exactly what they said, And I tend to look at it as, if you're killing people, you're killing them. That's bad in itself. But now we're talking about, well, you got to think about it. Assault. Think about the word assault. There ain't nothing friendly about the word assault. That means you go in with enormous force. And that's what's really happening with these weapons. But again, there are so many weapons out there. I mean, I hate to go to this part, but on the news, the ex-prime minister of Japan was assassinated by a homemade weapon. You got to take some pipes together and found some bullets and got rid of them and got up on the guy, And this is a country.
People are always gonna find a way to search the system, but that don't mean we have to lay out and accept it and take it as that. Yeah,
right.
This kid was so smart enough, he made his own gun.
Right.
True enough. And they had laws and regulations over there in Japan that was really strict, and they never had a shooting like this since, I think they said 1930 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, they said there's only been 8 shootings in the whole country in 10 years?
Oh, wow.
Something like that.
Yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
But all in all, we have it every
day. Yeah. And that's the crazy part. It happens all over
so,
our country.
What are we gonna do about it? What can we do about it?
Well, I think that there has to be a study, and I'm sure they're doing a study. They're just not releasing the information from the last 20 years or 22 years, looking at how much gun violence has changed from the 20 years prior, and where did it happen, and what were the circumstances. I tend to believe that in Chicago, that it. Hold on, I'll put you on mute, y'all. Put you on mute. I tend to believe that in Chicago.
I don't know. You keep breaking up. Let me go in another room because you keep fading in and out.
Okay, I'm sorry. Maybe it's the mic. Maybe we need the mic a little closer. But what I was saying in Chicago, we've only had concealed carry about 12 years now. 12 or 15 years, would you say? It's been around a decade, at least a decade, I know. And we've had other things that started 2 decades ago, which was the the federal firearms release list, where they released a number of firearms that were never. Hold on, let me see. Let me get this. They won't let me mute. Why not?
She muted.
She muted?
Yeah.
But I have no control. Anyway, the federal firearms release list at the end of the 1999, and that list released a lot of firearms to be, handled or bought and sold to citizens, such as AK-47s, ARs, and the list goes on. And ever since then, they've developed and built others. So, it's out there. That's part of it. I want to think that's part of it. What else is there? People been talking about gangs. I don't want to say it's gangs. Because when the last time you heard of a gang shootout? Think about that.
Mm.
I haven't heard of a gang shootout in years.
Yeah.
It's usually somebody getting into it, and that's what it usually is. It's not really gangs, involvement. One thing I do want to bring up, Miss Jacobs, can you hear me?
I hear you. Do you hear me?
Yeah, last night that was a shooting down the street. They said I forgot how many people down the street from you in the 1000 block of Lockwood. What happened? I think they said it was a number of people that were shot. I gotta get some more info on it, but it was what you saw down the street, but it was something that made the news major. I can't remember. It just dawned on me because that was last night, right? Yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Miss Jacobs called me. She said that was one of the issues, but it was a whole nother issue we got to work on because neighbors ain't neighborly like they used to be. That's another thing. But no, these shootings.
They started at 7 o'clock. that was going on down in the 1000 block about somebody getting killed. But these people, the neighbors across the street, they started doing their music about 7, and they had the whole block
rocking, huh?
Hearing the music, the whole block, not next door to where they stayed. They had the whole block. You could hear the music down the whole block. And me and a couple more people called. They said, well, they just had a shooting, and that was first priority. Okay, I understand first priority, but was all the policemen at that scene at the time? Don't they have an extra car or something can come down and tell them they cut the music down? Don't they have enough where they can have a car to come and tell them to cut the music down?
Well, they should have been able to hear it from where they were at, right? I said they should have been able to hear it from where the scene was at of the murder.
Right.
You know what, Miss Jacob?
They heard it, but I'm just telling you what a sergeant said, that they was this was the lowest priority. Right. They had a shooting, and then about 10 o'clock, he said, when I called back, he said the shift was changing, and they will send a car out. They had been sending a car out ever since 7 o'clock, and this is 10 o'clock last night. The car hadn't made it out here yet.
Right. I hear you. We gotta.
Yeah, you know what? This week was in our meetings that we're gonna have. I actually reached out to OEMC to come on and talk about some of those calls and how they associate which ones to whatever priority level. So hopefully that offers a little bit of clarity. I mean, it still sucks either way it goes. Whenever you make a call and the police don't show up or they show up super late, but at minimum, I'm trying to figure out some ways that we can become more aware of what certain calls look like, how they get placed with priority, and hell, even what we might need to do so that we can get an upper level priority as it relates to our calls. So I'll be doing that in all the meetings that I lead. So Monday is the 25th district, Tuesday is the 11th district, and then next week I'll be doing the 15th district. And I'll have somebody from OEMC in each one of those meetings to start off the meetings. So,
and OEMC is.
So, can I add something to what Edie is saying?
Sure.
Yeah, go ahead.
Everybody. Hi, Edie. Hi. Hey, DeAndre.
What's up, Barry?
So, it seems to me that the fire department, and I'm not sure whether it's Chicago or other cities, they have various alarm fires, and for each type of fire, they say how many of what equipment has to be called out to the scene. And it would seem to me that the police could have something like that, because what I hear Edie saying is, all right, there's a murder, but that's not every police car in the city of, or on the west side has something to do. I mean, what can they all do?
Sound like the way he was sounding like everybody was at the shooting when nobody available to come and tell the people to turn the music down. All the policemen was at the same scene, I guess.
So, do you understand what I'm saying about the fire department?
Yes, I understand that they should have, even though it's a shooting or whatever, all policemen are not at that scene. They should
Well, how many police? Right, so if it's a single shooting, how many police do you need? How many cars do you need?
That's the thing.
Well, I'm going to tell you, look.
No, I mean, they should say if it's one shooting, it's this many cars. If it's multiple shooting, then it's so on.
I think that would, yeah. I think a designation would make sense. I'll say I met with one of the aldermen who's a former sergeant, and as he explained it, and this was an arbitrary number that he threw out there, but he was like, man, say if there was a shooting on North Avenue in Leamington, 8 police cars show up. He said, not all 8 of those cars have somebody doing something. He said, in most cases, those many officers are going to be messing up the crime scene. He said, so when he was a sergeant, he would always tell them, hey man, get your ass back to work. Ain't nothing else to see here. Go ahead and push on. And a lot of times, if officers aren't being told that, as he was saying, this is where the lack of beat integrity is coming from. Because we do get a lot of shootings, but we don't need all of the cars that show up all the time. So.
Right.
One other thing, how long for one shooting, how long for how many cars? If you need 1 car, if you need 5 cars, whatever it is, for how long? Is it 30 minutes? Is it an hour? So there's some numbers so that Edie and the rest of us can understand what's involved.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it's like, what the hell's going on?
And
How many cars are there?
And who's regulating that to make sure that's what's going on, and who's making a call on it?
All those kinds of questions. So what I'm saying is, we simply want to know what the plan is.
Because it ain't working.
Because we know there are going to be shootings, and we know there are going to be multiple shootings, and so what are the various alarm, like the fire department have? What are the various levels of danger?
Right.
And for how long? Do you need how much equipment?
Right.
Remember on Massasoit, you said that there was like an armored vehicle that showed up?
Right.
Yeah.
When is that needed? At what level?
Right. I think after that all went down, I think that happened because the feds actually called that in. The feds saw the guy shooting at some people, and when they called it into local law enforcement, they kind of escalated it. That's my opinion. The feds escalated.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, what are the various levels of escalation? And what about the various, Cook County cops, Chicago cops, federal officers,
State.
give us the lay of the land of what goes on.
Well, I think that's part of the problem. We have a lot of bureaucracy in a lot of different places, and a lot of people just go where they think they're doing the right thing, man.
Right.
I mean, if we honest, that's really what it is. I mean, there is we know it's a paramilitary organization.
Sounds like rules.
Yeah, we know of the Chicago Police Department, and mostly all police departments, if not all, they're a paramilitary organization. So they have strict structure, and they have an authoritative process by which they follow. So whoever is in lead is the person that is in lead if they own the scene or closest to whatever situation is happening. And so what that does is it not only makes rules different in different areas, because, for example, some districts in the city of Chicago look at their beats, the total composition of a beat, and call it a sector. And they have sector meetings. Some other districts only look at them as a single beat and only have single beat meetings. And if you tried to ask, which I have, hey, why can't we just have a sector to get everybody to come on at one time? They're like, well, to do that, we got to go all the way at the top and ask the superintendent if that can happen. And I'm like, what? Because what I know to be true is in other districts, the commander came in and said, this is what I want to happen in this district, and that happened. So it's just this weird circumstance that we have of having all of this bureaucracy where whomever's in leadership is the one truly making the rules. There's standards across the board, absolutely, but unfortunately, the leadership, whoever's the head man at the time, is the one that dictate what goes on. Right. So that's where some of the issue does stem from, because again, if you get it all the way from the top, that officers have to take they can't take any days off, or they have to have an extended tour and all of these things. There's nothing anybody could do about that. Nothing that the local commander, the commander, sergeant, captain, anybody can do, and it's gonna come down like that. But there are some things that they can do in terms of locally in their particular districts if you're the commander, so to speak. So it's just it's crazy dynamic, man. That's what I've come to learn as I've been working with the Chicago police. Now, what I will say, I'll be quiet, is there's a good plug for this ECPS, right? We came here in the city of Chicago last year. We passed perhaps the most comprehensive community-led legislation that has the most teeth outside of California, giving community members the power over their district. And that doesn't mean like we become the commanders or anything like that. What that means is community people now have a greater say in what happens at the district level. So I think that's important, because where you're having this discussion, Barry, about incidence level and who gets assigned where, I think now having the power, community members having the power on these district councils can now bring that into question. And this piece of legislation not only creates these district councils, but it creates this citywide commission that will be involved in policy making. So what that looks like is, let's say I'm talking to you, Barry, having this conversation. I'm on a district council, and you tell me, I think there needs to be assigned incidence level. We don't need these many cops rushing to a shooting. At minimum, they should be able to go back to their area at this amount, whatever that is. And now I go take that to the commission and I say, hey, this needs to be written in policy, guys. This is what the community feels will improve not only interaction between community and police, but also help them to better get service when they're looking for it. So I say that to say those ECPS positions that were created based on this legislation, people will have to run for those in this year's upcoming election for aldermen. So starting in September, if you're somebody that wants to be on one of these district councils, a community member that wants to have higher say in policing here in the city of Chicago, go get your name on the ballot. Go grab you up a clipboard, get some signatures. Now there's some work involved. You might have to spend a few dollars, but let me tell you the game though. If you're something you're interested in, it's going to be 3 people selected for these councils. Go partner up with the 3 people, the other 2 people. Y'all put a few dollars together. It ain't going to take a whole lot. I promise you ain't. Because at the end of the day, if you already been involved with police and community, already know that you already got their support. Yeah, we want you on there. But y'all take a few dollars, y'all pair it together, y'all create a slate, and now y'all campaign as a group. Y'all do that together. So at the appearances that each one of you can make, you always supporting your brother or your sister that's running with you. And then when it comes time to printing up material, y'all print it up together as a slate. So now it costs less per piece of material than it would have, because 3 people splitting the bill. You know what I mean? So that's part of the game. Like, we got to take, if we really, yep. Go ahead. Yep.
Let's get back to Edie. I'm not really understanding what you're saying, but to get back to Edie and Barry, statement, because we have a shooting in the 1000 block or whatever, does that mean that they abandon the other community or crimes that's going on in other communities? They have all 50 cars at that one spot, but all the rest of the community is unprotected. That's the way it sounds to me. For someone to tell me that shooting is high priority, yes, it is. But you still got to protect the other citizens who are not involved with that shooting.
Yeah, but the way they look at it is priority.
Too much reaction and not enough pro-action.
Well, yeah, well.
For them to send someone to Edie's place, because that too can result in shootings. And you have all these young people all gathered together having all kind of parties and stuff. That can lead to another crisis. So why is it that was not taken into consideration when they called and complained about this?
I mean,
don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Because you have all of this over here, and you have this less, what they feel less important actions going on over there. You neglect them and leave them vulnerable and send all the resources there. That doesn't make sense. They need to rethink that.
Right. All right. So
they have cars left.
Right.
Come in and protect the other citizens from crime.
Right.
They didn't get beat up. Oh, we had the mass shooting over here, so all our patrol was out there over here. And this lady getting beat up.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. I think that's just a scapegoat, just a reason that they give us because they think we're falling for it.
No, I mean, well, no, it's the real reason. And again, I heard this from OEMC themselves. That is what they do. They assign priority to certain calls. Miss Jacobs called, and I've heard repeatedly that a call of disorderly conduct, loud music, is a priority one. It's not going to be looked at the same. So either you're not going to get service right away, or you're going to get service later on when it's potentially over with. And I mean, that's just the truth of the matter. What I was saying about these councils, though, right?
Want you to think that's the truth of the matter. That's what they want you to think.
Yeah, I think it's a different item than priority.
It is a different priority. It is. And you know, I explained, and the man that called them that music was going on beside his house, he said, I got to go on dialysis tomorrow night. In the morning. He said, and we singers over here, we want some tea. He's pleading with the officer. Not the officer, the dispatcher. Oh, well, we'll have to send somebody when a car is available. So all the cars are at just one spot, and there's no car available. Right. Oh, crap. That's crazy. That's bull.
You know, this brings
about... Yeah, that's bull. However they prioritize, dispatchers prioritize, they need retraining because, like I said, whatever's going on in Edie's block could very well turn into something bigger and worse. Right. So you don't tell me that. And I can't accept that's the way it does. Forget that.
Well, I'm going to let Steve go, but what I was saying with the council piece was the councils give us the voice to say this needs to be written in policy. We can create the policy that governs the police, but we got to be a part of it. It can't be another situation where we sitting here talking about it, complaining about it, and then we have an opportunity to stand up and do something, and then we don't take it. That's what. So the
DeAndre, can I interrupt here?
Yep.
Now listen, just last week, and you know, and Steve know, I just met with the 15th District Commander. I told him what's going on this block. He said, "Okay, I'll put it on. I'll put it on what they call it, whatever. Notice." See, that's how he said. He Okay, I'll put it on note. This is not the first time it's been called about this. I don't even see, and I told them we need policemen more visible riding down these streets. The 15th district, I don't know what's going on.
Well, you know that there's been a lot of change, and you know we had change of commanders, we got change of
Personnel.
We
got attrition.
You know,
we don't even.
The whole city shut down because we have a change in personnel.
Well, we don't have enough bodies. We don't have enough bodies, and a lot of our bodies get assigned to different areas. I mean, it's still true that the most affluent areas in the city of Chicago going to get the most police support. That still hasn't changed. I mean,
DeAndre, I think it comes down to how many cars are available at any one time, and how many cars are needed if there's a shooting. How many of those cars? So people like Ellie and Edie and Ella and me can understand what the problem is. Because right now we're in the dark. We feel like it's just excuses.
Yeah. You know what?
How many cars are available, and when there's an incident, how long does one car or 6 cars or whatever the number is, how long do they have to be at the incident?
That's a good point. I'm gonna try to. You know what? I'm gonna try to get one of the commanders. I'll see if we can get one of the commanders to stop on one of the shows one day for an hour or something. I know it's on a Sunday. They probably spending family time, but I'll work on them and see if we can get one of them to pop in.
Right.
Because we can't answer those questions.
Yeah, but you need, so if they say it and Edie happens not to be there, or Ella, in other words, we need the problem. This is a common problem. And we need, somebody to explain it in simple terms. And I'm proposing something. How many cars are available at any one time?
Right.
And how long does a car have to be at a scene in order to go on? And I don't need the exact amount of time, but, is it 1 hour or is it 4 hours?
Right.
I'm going to have to raise a bigger question. And this is what we really need to focus on. Why is it, or isn't it, a person that's a leader on the block that can go over to these people or call them and say, hey, you're kind of disturbing everybody over here?
That's what I was thinking too. Like, where's the follow up after? We couldn't get the
Because again, this is gonna go on as much as you can until somebody gets some cohesion. And I get it. Every day we got new neighbors coming in. We got new people leaving and coming in. But we got to figure out a way how to manage these blocks, together. Because law enforcement, they're gonna start just telling you, yeah, we told them, we called them, they're not gonna call them. Well, we came by, we told them. But then now, and then if it gets to that point, they got to start writing tickets, and then people got to keep a log.
Right.
But I mean, to tell you the truth, I think the first line of defense should be talk to
community people. Yeah.
Hey, that's not what we're doing. And then sometimes, here we go again with the signs, the block club signs. So with the signs telling you what's going on. And usually when you see those blocks with those signs, it ain't happening. It ain't happening. Those things are not happening on those blocks. And it just, I had a talk with a person today out south. She got a neighbor, and she was complaining about the neighbor bringing a stick to the gate because of her dog. She got a puppy dog, and the dog, and he's taking his garbage. He's like, well, I got a big dog down south, and I know how they act. And these people just moved in 4 months ago. It's like, what kind of decorum is that with your neighbor when you just moved there? It's like, don't you want to get to know your neighbor and understand what's going on with them, and understand what's going on with yourself, and then you can have some kind of understanding. But you're gonna have beefs when people just don't communicate. some people
But
just.
Steve,
Mhm.
now, you know, and Officer Whitaker and Officer Nate from the 50th District, we have walked my block, tried to connect with these people. These people do not open their gate. They ain't trying to be bothered, but they want to play their music.
Well, maybe we're taking the wrong approach. Maybe the next approach should be getting some ministers to go to their house. You know, a priest, somebody that speaks Spanish, somebody that speaks whatever language that needs to be communicated. You know, because just pretending that I'm in a bubble and everybody else around me don't speak what I speak or do what I do, so therefore I can do whatever it has to be. That's not cool either. We need to have, like I said, there needs to be some understanding. There needs to be some communication. Sometimes you could just give them a letter and say, here's a letter saying these are the rules of the block. And guess what? If it's got to be in Polish, Spanish, Italian, whatever it's got to be, this is what the letter needs to be presented to them as. I mean, come on, people gotta learn how to unite. You know, especially where they're at. I mean, people, you just move on the block and it's like you're the only person on the block. Come on now. Come on. We got to get a little bit beyond that. You know?
But Steve, I think you're preaching to the choir.
Right. No, I understand, but I'm saying maybe that's the move. Maybe we need to, how about a letter? Look, if the police don't want to come out, would they supply a letter? I'll take the letter and put it in the mailbox. I don't care. You know what I'm saying? Somebody needs just to write it up and say what it is and what we like to see. You know, can you please work with us on this?
I'm wondering what speak.
I'm gonna bring it to their. In fact, I'm gonna call tomorrow and bring it to their attention. Just what you said. And put it in their box. You're right. I agree with you. We try to do something.
Right. If they're hard to be reached, and then you know it don't have to be a mean letter. It could be a friendly letter. You say, you know, this is what we, you know, would like to see. Would you like to be in compliance and help us out? You know, we understand that people have parties and so forth, but you know, could you just keep it at a lower decibel? That's it.
Right.
And then
everybody want to party to hear some music, but this was blasting the whole 2 blocks.
Right. And then and don't get me wrong. I guess that's all okay if the whole block is involved. You know, you have instances like that where people have block events and everybody on the block is involved. So I'm just saying we're gonna have a lot more movement with people moving around. So we really need to try to figure out how we're gonna bring everything together. That's it. You know. I think I was telling somebody about my block. My neighbors, I have neighbors, 2 new neighbors on both sides of me. And at one point they came to me and they were like, Steve, you seem like you know a lot of people and this and that. Can you help us out with this broken sidewalk? Because I'm like, nah, the city ain't gonna pay for that. It's your sidewalk. You have to pay for it, you know, by the curb all the way. And then I said, but let me make a call. I made a call, and then the guy, I took some pictures. He was like, yeah, well, you know, they'll take care of it because it's a tripping hazard. If there's a tripping hazard, you know, the city will repair it. I'm like, well, there it is. That's the first time I heard that one, but I'm definitely going to let everybody I know that when they have a problem in their, you know, with their sidewalks. And then the next day, probably not even the next day, but a few days, you know, actually Friday, neighbors called me and said, Steve, somebody broke into our cars, my husband's car and my car. And I'm like, what they had? They take the car? He was like, no, they just took some change and some miscellaneous stuff. That's it. I'm like, well, I don't know. That happened around here to me about 15 years ago. But then I found out then I remembered so it happened to a neighbor before. And then we got a couple cops across the street. Both of them, they said their wives, that happened in their cars. One of them left his wife's car door open and it happened. So they're assuming that it's either some people that are on drugs that's just coming through grabbing the change because they're leaving everything else. the lady said I had a $1,200 baby stroller in the back, and nobody didn't take that. And the husband had a bunch of tools, and they didn't touch any of that. So they either think it's kids just going in the cars late at night with a Slim Jim, or somebody grabbing just to change with a Slim Jim, which is beyond me. So my whole point to that was that, know your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors, because your neighbors may need you. And vice versa. Hopefully, it's going on, and we're gonna get to a point. You know what? This is the crazy part. When I called the cop across the street from me, I told him, and he was like, "Yeah, let me check my wife's car." He checks his wife's car, and then he says, "Well, probably with some kids in the neighborhood." And I said, "What?" Well, the one neighbor, the new neighbor, asked a question about, "Well, what will they be coming in my house next?" And I'm like, "No, I ain't coming. Ain't nobody coming in your house, And I told the cop that. He's like, "Yeah, you're right. Ain't nobody coming in your house because everybody got concealed carry now." And I'm like, "That's a whole nother issue. That's a whole nother issue." It just to hear this from law enforcement kind of threw me. I was like, "Wow, that's the way law enforcement is seeing things." Everybody's got concealed carry, so nobody's gonna get broken into. Not while you're there, maybe. And then when you're not there, guess who? If you don't have your gun with you, they're gonna get your gun. So, I mean, we got a whole pile of issues. But the main thing I think that's got to work, we got to reach out. If you got a block with 18 homes with 18 is small, right? 36 homes or 24 homes on it, and you don't know 10% of them people, you don't communicate with nobody, man, that's a problem. That's a problem. And 10% of 36 is what? 4 people? 4. 24, 3 people? Come on. And after a year, you done moved in. After a year, you don't have a number or talk to anybody. Then guess what? You starting to look like the problem, especially if you have problems on your block. So, I get it. We expect our law enforcement agencies to do their jobs. As hard as it sounds, more and more there are always some reasons or excuses for why they can't, they couldn't, and all of that. But we do a little bit. They do a little bit. No, we don't want a little bit from law enforcement. We want them to do to the maximum extent of what they have to do. That's what we want from them. Do your job totally, in totality. And we'll do some things to try to, secure our blocks and unify our blocks.
Can I say something?
Sure, go ahead. Who's speaking?
Angela Robinson.
Go ahead.
What I want to say is that if you could get a ticket for loud music when you're driving a car, I think that they need to get a ticket for loud music.
Yeah.
And also, how could you reach out to someone that don't want to be reached? A lot of these people move in your neighborhood and they have their gates locked up. They go in and out. They don't communicate at all. They have signs on their fence saying beware of dogs, and they don't want to communicate at all.
Yeah.
I think it would be kind of hard for the neighbors to try to reach out to someone that don't want to be reached.
Well, that's true, but eventually they're gonna have to be reached. Somebody's gonna, like I just said, we may have to give a letter to them saying, "Hey, these are the things that have been affecting us. These are the things we want to see change with. Are you willing to be in compliance? Help us out."
But what if they don't? What if they read it and don't care?
Oh, well, you'll know that because if they keep up with what you've asked them not to do, then you go to the next level. And the next level is bringing in outside sources to correct it. I mean, you could try again, but there needs to be some type of even if the communication is, "I'm not doing it." Okay, so now we know. All right, we understand.
I have a neighbor that just moved over in the neighborhood and they threw trash in the alley on the side of the property. So what do you do about that?
Well, you first and foremost, you call them. No, the first thing you do is you reach out to them and find out who they are, how they doing things, and then you mention it. You mention it. You say, "Hey, Did you not know this? Oh, and then you know they're probably going to deny it. But even if they deny it, then you say, just keep an eye out for me. Help me look for that person. If it wasn't you and anybody that came from your party, help us look for that person and make sure this stuff doesn't happen. Because if it's already happened, ain't nothing you can do about what happened. Let's talk about what we're going to do going forward to make it better. That's all we can do.
I was wondering with this letter situation you were saying, sending people a letter. I wonder, could the police also say, hey, we have reports of disorderly conduct coming from here. This is the first instance of such. This is the first instance of such. If this occurs again, then we're going to give you a ticket for XYZ. I wonder if something like that possible. I don't know if they do that, but I wonder, could that be a mitigator?
I would hope it would. It would free up a lot of resources.
I would think so.
It would definitely free up a lot of resources because this stuff is getting bigger and bigger.
Ms. Jacobs, do you know if something like that can happen, or if they've ever done anything like that in the past?
Do I know of who? What?
So, for instance, as Steve was saying, maybe having a letter that you could take to individuals to let them know about the block or whatnot. But I'm saying in the regard of having the officers write a letter to them and let them know, hey, we got domestic disturbance report from this particular house. This is the first warning. If it happens again, we'll fine you. Do you know if something like that has happened before?
No, I never known, but I think the police should take that. Now, this is not the first incident about this same house.
Right.
So I think it would be good. In fact, I bring this to Officer Whitaker and Officer Nate tomorrow to get this letter drawn up. That's what I did when Steve was bringing forward. Let them take it. That's their job. They take it to them people house because, see, when it goes to neighbors, then you causing a problem. Okay, well, she's bringing this letter to me. Then it's gonna be some conflict or something. You know what I'm saying?
Right, but
yeah,
but I think
years ago, Edie, Steve and DeAndre, years ago, the CAP program had a representative. If we saw a problem, they would put a police heading on a letter, send it to the house.
With the Walgreens around here.
The people are not involved. They have that letter.
Roosevelt,
and send it to the people who are involved.
I'm just trying to walk to the store real quick, but it's kind of.
And become aware of what problems we're having in our community. But you know what? They have never been involved with it. Cats to do that. And I'm gonna get on. I'm gonna get on that tomorrow.
right.
I'm gonna bring that to their attention tomorrow. I'm glad you all brought it to my attention because I'm definitely gonna push that because this ain't good. Yeah, they did that. The police themselves put the people on notice, not you, but the police did, and we got results from that. You're the CAS program. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's what I was gonna. Okay. That sounds about like.
But you know what? I also believe that when you send a letter, send a letter of inclusion first and foremost. Let's start with they ain't moving tomorrow because of this letter. I think you should always look at the idea of inclusion because people sometimes they just need to be told, hey, we all on this together. Let's work together. And let's go.
Yeah. I mean, I'm gonna agree with you. I agree with you.
Once you start with the offense, they're gonna become defensive, and now you really got barriers and other things going on. I mean, look, I'm gonna be honest. If the same way that the commander went to to that block and said we're gonna do something about it, he should be the person that can go to that house and follow up with them. Now again, he may not be able to get in, whatnot, so I understand that. And I do also understand the need to go to somebody respectfully with peace, right? Before you go and take it to them in another way. And also, I was going to say,
I don't know if the 15th has a community organizer right now, because what
Tim Brown.
yeah, he left.
Right,
He
right.
left. So Tim Brown is gone, and I don't know if they have a community organizer.
Right. Well,
But if they do, though, that person could be the one that go take something with an official letterhead to the house.
and I would definitely have it in
They
Spanish,
definitely could do that.
Spanish and English. You know, so that
Oh,
is.
it would definitely have to be in Spanish because it is the Spanish first.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's the
Right.
what kind of music they was playing? Merengue, bachata,
Man, I don't
Bando music.
know what.
the bandoleros.
And playing all that. Woo, 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 woo.
Oh yeah.
I don't know
Did they
what.
have a nah? Because you know they had a whole band out. Did they have a band out there?
Yeah, they have.
Oh yeah, yes sir. Oh man, yes sir. Oh man, oh man. Oh yeah, buddy.
But you know what?
Yeah, buddy.
Let me tell you about that, though.
Yeah, buddy.
That doesn't just happen in our communities where Spanish-speaking people are moving in. It happens in Spanish-speaking communities because we've had other people in Spanish communities
Yeah.
ask us
For
to
real.
help them do a phone tree
Yeah.
several times because they were like, Steve, we got some new people in the neighborhood and they playing the bando music, man. They getting it in. I'm like, but wait a minute, you speak Spanish, they speak Spanish. Can't you just kind of talk to them? No.
Literally the same situation you speaking about is what they've been going through for months. And I'm not saying that this one won't have any rectifying, ramifications, so to speak. But they have been, and they sold me, for a matter of fact, not months, years.
Right.
And the woman that is going through this, like Steve spoke about, is a Latina. And she showed me
in the whole community.
Yeah, in the Hermosa community. So it's a whole Latin community. And she showed me the emails that she was sending to the alderman about the situation. It's one particular house that has parties that go on throughout the night. Everybody on the block knows it. Everybody hates it. They call the police time and time again. Nothing has happened. Reached out to the alderman. Nothing has happened. She even went with like the DCOs and some community members. They did a walk, met up with the lady. The lady told the DCOs, I'm going to keep playing my music. I don't care what y'all do. So if y'all going to find me, go ahead and do it.
And then
she went and had a party the next night.
Any requests?
On the real. Had a party the next night. Now, again, I'm not saying that this situation won't be fixed, but that is already happening in certain communities. And the outcome is not looking good at all. So I mean, in these type of situations, to be completely frank, I don't know what we could do because it don't even seem like law enforcement is an answer.
That's what I was saying. They came the wrong way with them.
Yeah.
They went in kicking the door. Oh, you went to the alderman.
Yeah.
Oh, you went to the mayor. You went to all that. Oh, okay. But you could have just came and I would have gave you, a couple requests.
Mm-hmm.
Turn it down. Yeah, buddy.
Take you some tacos and listen to one of these songs I got for you. Man, I don't know, man.
I know one of my guys.
Mm-hmm.
He complains about it all the time. He called it the Rancho Cucamonga next to him.
Oh, man.
And he Puerto Rican. And he's like, and his wife Mexican. He's like, man, they getting it in. It's the hotel next door. They put the music and I'm like,
man, they got the guys. They come in dressed up. They the mariachis.
But see, he can't talk to them because he didn't got into them too many times. So now that's off the table. He can't even ask him to, work with me a little bit. So it just gets we building more walls, That's what I think. Try decorum, try diplomacy,
man.
Try to be,
Yeah, we got to get to a space where we build in community. That's it. That's all. I mean, I'm just spitballing here because again, I don't know what could or could not happen, but I'm wondering, like, if we had welcoming committees to people that's coming, that's new to the block, if we all came to the block, say, hey, welcome to the block. Look, it go a list of some things that, listen, we cool with the parties and whatnot, man, just have it off by like midnight or something. I don't know. If you approach first with the act of kindness, look, you need resources, what we could help you out with. I mean, does that, I wonder, what kind of impact that would have on the front end so we won't have to deal with stuff like this on the back end. You know what I mean?
Right. And here's some requests. Can you play this lullaby tonight? Sweet whispers. You play these songs. I just want to hear you play these at a low tone. Could you do that for me?
Man.
You know, it's crazy. And I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna get to a lot of these issues because I already hear people ramped up about it. 2 summers ago, on Parkside, right between Chicago Avenue and Iowa, there's a Spanish-speaking family somewhere at the end of the block, probably on the northern end of the block. The mother and probably some kids, older mother and some adult kids. The adult kid was coming home. He's probably in his 20s, 30s, and some black guys was parked in the street, double park. He couldn't get through. So the black guys was there visiting some of the other black residents, and they jumped out and beat the guy up, you know, because he was acting goofy. They thought. So guess what happened? This guy went and got the lead keys and shot up the whole block. Now guess what? He can't come back on the block anymore because everybody on the block looking for him. The police is looking for him, and everything else. You know, then they did do a follow-up. The police went through and went door to door and reached out to the neighbors trying to build some community and what have you. But, you know, he got to go see his mom, you know, all the way around, park his car 5 blocks away and walk in through the alley or something now. And this is the kind of stuff you run into when people are just not understanding. Let's work this together, you know. It's a problem. It's a problem that I see if we don't come together on a lot of things, we're going to hear more and more and more of this. And you can't just say people don't know. We get that. Well, we just didn't know we couldn't do this. Okay.
So that's what the guy said last night. So the guy said he didn't know it was that loud. He didn't know the music was that loud. That ain't nothing but game, man. Come on now. The police had been out there before about a month ago, and he talking about he didn't know it was that loud.
Yeah, that's you know.
That's the game. And see, this I know. I mean, we shouldn't have to accept this over here like this. We are all the ones that's left over here. We are seniors.
Right.
And like I said, the man that lives next door, he goes on dialysis. Everybody's sick, seniors. We ain't trying to hear all that. And you gonna come over here and just take over?
Yeah, I mean.
And these policemen,
No, I get it.
I mean, they have no help, and they want the community to say to work with them, and you all don't even work with the community, the block.
Right. The police they're in a situation where they really they have to become diplomats, where they can use diplomacy to bring people together. Because if you don't, these transitional neighborhoods, I already know there are a lot of complaints. I'm already hearing them from all over the city, where you know other nationalities are moving in, and people are like, wait a minute, they just took my fence down and didn't say anything. Wait a minute, they just put 4 feet of concrete next to my 4-foot chain link fence, and now all the water is running over into my yard and flooding. You know, it's a lot of it, but people have to kind of. I mean, that can easily be. You know, you go to the city, and that's another thing. The lady I was talking to today, she brought up that if they want to act crazy, I'm just going to start citing all of the problems they got with their property to the city. And I'm like, well, yeah, that could be the way to go about it, but that's a very indirect way. You still didn't talk to them about the issue at hand. You know, people like, I don't know what it is. Most often, people just feel like I can't talk to them about them offending me. You can talk to anybody about somebody offending you. You know, before you get on the defense, you could just be like, hey, you know, this is what, and keep it real, you know, friendly, and just say, hey, this is what's going on. This is not a good thing. A person talking to me today, people putting garbage in my garbage can, and they got their own garbage cans, and I'm the one that got the garbage cans for them. I'm like, yeah, that's a problem, maybe, but at least they're putting the garbage in the garbage can. Let's start with that. The next thing is maybe they, ask them, hey, is there any reason? Do you need more garbage cans? I can reach out and get you another one if that's what you need. But I mean, people are just they're ramped up. They're ramped up about a lot of things. You know, and believe me, it makes it easy for the ward superintendent because he just want to write tickets. He don't even have to go look for the stuff anymore. You know, grass too high, trash everywhere. The ward sup can't do anything about noise. I don't think they can do anything about noise ordinance. I have to check on that. That's a good question. Maybe the ward superintendent could do something about ward ordinance. You know, does he really have to? Does he have to be there to see it or hear it, or could somebody just show him a recording? You know, so trust me. The best way to deal with a lot of these problems is try to figure out how we're gonna live together.
Yeah.
That's the best way. But you got, you know, look, hey, let me tell you this one. I got a buddy that lives in Bridgeport, and he has a guy that literally has a sign said, "Now don't you regret that you voted for Biden?" And a big old sign in front of his house. Then he said before that he had a big trumpeter sign. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I get it. He said, the guy's real. I'm like, did anybody ever try to talk to him? He said, no, I'm trying to figure out who the guy is. So guess what his retaliation was? He put a big neon Black Lives Matter sign in his window. You got to turn it on with a light switch. And you see him, you could probably see him for 4 blocks away. And I'm like, so we on the battle of the signs now, you know? Hey. This is what we dealing with, you know. Everybody's at odds. Yeah, and by the way, these are 2 white guys. These are 2 white guys battling it out with signs, you know. I get it. But what does this guy do next, you know? The guy that's with the he changed the sign. He said something like, oh, I got it. He said something like, in 5 more months, we ain't got to worry about Biden or something.
Hey, Miss Jacob.
This been going nuts out here, boy.
Miss Jacob.
Yes.
Hey, so I mean, when you were younger, right? So you could say right around my age, right? 35 and even younger. How was it that you all? Because I feel like you come from a space where the community was a lot more tight knit and together. Like, how was it so that you all were able to create community back when you were, you know, right again, my age, you know, 35 and even younger?
35. I had kids. Oh, you mean the block?
Yeah.
Yes, the block.
Yeah, the block, the community. I mean, I felt like that was a little bit more connectedness back then. You know what I mean?
Of course. Look, yes. When my kids was growing up and the other neighbors' kids was growing up, we were together. Whatever went on, I mean, we had a block club.
But how did you all do it though? But how did you do it?
Because we communicate, we connect.
Okay.
So we had block club parties, we had bands in the middle of the street. I mean, everything, we had it together.
Okay.
Our children was playing, and if you want to get like, if kids were selling drugs or doing their little thing, they did it in the alley. They wasn't doing nothing on the front. This block was straight.
Edie, about what year are you talking about?
Well, it was back in
because here's where I'm going with this. You don't have to.
They funny as hell.
Forget about my question.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It was back in the late 70s and in the 80s.
Okay. So here's so DeAndre, to answer your question, look at movies from that period, the 1970s and 1980s. You look at the kind of movies you had then, and look at, for example, violence.
Ella, could you mute?
In those movies versus violence in the movies today. The media is just constantly telling us about violence and abuse of every kind.
I'm afraid.
And back in the 70s and 80s, it just wasn't like that.
Yeah, but I mean, but those doesn't.
And see, when the kids got into it, they fought. They fought. They didn't shoot each other. They were fighting.
Yeah, fight with their fists.
Right. And plus, we parents, we was at the school when I get off of work, whatever. We was in the PTA. We was at the school. We knew what our kids was doing. Or either if my kids was did something in school, the teacher gonna call me. I'm going up to that school.
Okay.
Right. So everything was different then.
Ella, could you mute?
In Riverdale? So, and why did you ask me? Why did you ask me that?
Well, just because I wanted to get a perspective.
I wanted to find out what decade we were talking about, and then look at the movies in that period. Because the movies give a flavor.
Well, I think so.
Lots of times I watch movies from the 1980s, the 1990s, because today's movies are they don't leave me in as positive a place. So do you understand why I asked you?
No, that's why I was asking him. Why did he ask me?
Oh, I thought you were asking me. I'm sorry.
No, I'm asking DeAndre.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
So, well, I asked because I wanted to. I wanted to just get a perspective of what were y'all doing. I wanted to get a perspective of what it was y'all were doing back then to build community. Oh, hold on. I don't know what's going on. Hold on. Is it the hello?
Hey, Ella, can you mute yourself if you're not on?
I didn't hear you. What did you say?
Let's say, could you mute?
Barry?
Yeah, can you mute Ella?
You're asking me. DeAndre, I'm still waiting for why you asked me.
Yeah, I'm trying. Can you hear me, or am I still breaking up?
Now I hear you.
Okay, so I was asking because I wonder what y'all were doing to build community back then, because I know what type of strategies we're trying to use now, but I wanted to know what y'all were doing back then. You know what I mean? And I know from a standpoint of to because to a degree there was just a height. There was more respect out of everybody, the spectrum, right? Which could ultimately be a part of the whole communication and the community building and the way that the neighborhoods were back then. I mean, right now we just dealing with a lack of respect, probably the likes we've never seen in history. You know what I'm saying? Right now.
Right.
And so, I was just wondering, was there specific things that y'all were doing that really helped build the community? For example, I mentioned earlier having welcoming committees, right? Like, did y'all do that back in the day? You know what I mean? I get the block parties and stuff like that, but for new people that came to the block, how did they get integrated into the block? Who went to them? Just stuff like that. That's kind of where I was going with it. Just trying to check and see, like, is there something in particular y'all was doing back in the day that we aren't doing now that we could be doing?
Well, I think that if I could answer your question, DeAndre.
Hmm?
If I could
Go ahead. Hello?
Barry, go ahead.
Yeah. So it seems to me that that's what we can do on the show, is we can create that kind of environment on the show, about the kind of environment that
Barry, I disagree with you as far as now. This is a different breed of people.
Right.
We don't connect. We can't. It will never be back like it was.
No.
Go ahead, Barry. We can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Go ahead. We didn't hear the last thing you said. We're definitely not hearing you now, Barry. If you're sensitive.
Okay.
Go ahead, Barry. Nothing. Anyway, while he's doing
Hello?
that, while Barry's changing up his.
Miss Jacob?
Can you hear me?
Oh,
Now
okay.
we can.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll mute myself.
No, go ahead. Thought you had something to say, Barry, but never mind.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear me all right?
Now we can.
Okay, good. So what I'm saying is the way things are now seems to me is not sustainable. And it's not going to keep being this way. It's going to change in some way. And seems to me on the show, we can model the kind of way we want the new community to be.
I think we do, though.
How can you do that?
I mean, I've been saying, yeah, I think we do that already.
By talking about what we're doing and what we're creating.
But we do that already.
Yeah, but put more emphasis on that and less emphasis on what the problems are, because the problems are largely very difficult to change. But we could, with concerted action, make a change on a block or on several blocks.
Right.
How would we do that? How would we do that?
We can do it by the kind of thing that I was suggesting before, that the police tell us in a simple to understand way what, when there's a shooting, how much of their resources are going to be taken and for how long. How many cars, if there's a shooting, and for how long will they be wrapped up in that particular incident? And how many cars are available in the district? We should be able to understand that.
Yeah.
We can understand it, but they ain't gonna. The police got an answer for you. You gonna ask them then, but they gonna give you an answer a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like, Barry, you asked this question almost a year and a half ago, right? I feel like you asked this question when the division in Mayfield situation popped off. You was asking them this.
That's right.
And what were their response then to you?
The same thing that Edie just said. Some other kind of answer. But I still don't know.
And we will never know because they're going to have their answer.
Well, they want community engagement. They want to know what we think. And we need to understand why, when there's an incident on Edie's block, there are no cars available.
Well, this takes me back to what I was saying about these district councils and this ability that.
Well,
but this is. Yeah. But the reason why I bring this up,
why is that really going to be any different than
because you know what? The reason why it's going to be different is because just now, whether you are a proponent or you are against it, the consent decree forced the police to do something. Now, they might be moving slower than quicksand as it relates to making sure they hit those points. but they are actively doing something because they have a written piece of legislation that forces them to do something. As it relates to policy making, us as civilians have no say into the policy that goes on in the Chicago Police Department right now until they created the ECPS that gives community members a say in the policy making for Chicago police. So what I'm saying is, if you have some ideas and strategies from a community member standpoint that you think would be effective for these communities, then you be a part of that. You be a person that actually affects policy. Because what we know of policy, what I always state and which will always be true, is it's policy that governs life. It's legislation, period, point blank. There's no way around it. That written document here in the United States of America is the most powerful piece of a tool that we have. They always said the pen is mightier than the sword. And in our case, because we always go by what's written down, it is always true. So we got to be a part of it.
But you do have to have people that can follow through and enforce the policies, laws, and written legislation. Because you know what came to mind? The lady that had a lot to do with Emmett Till's killing.
Yeah.
They just found the doggone search. Yep. No, not the search warrant, but the warrant.
Yep. The original warrant. Yep.
They've been keeping it tucked away for 60 years.
Yep.
And it still can be enacted, from what I understand.
They don't want to though. Say it's too old.
Well, now is that part of the law? That's the thing. I mean,
but you know what? Now we talking about all of this, the laws and this and whatever. And just like Barry is still asking a question from last year. I think now, and I always say numbers count.
Yeah.
If we, as a people, will get together and demand what we want in our community, then we can change some things. But see, we sit here, we talk about what should do, how it should be, when it happened, how it happened. We talk among ourselves. We're not talking to the big people up there. We're talking to the choir.
Well, the reason we're doing that right now, because you have to kind of formulate the process and organize around it. You definitely don't want to go to the higher ups and not have everything in order. You just don't want to do that.
What I'm saying, Steve, we as a community need to organize. Then we go to the head person and tell them what we want. Not ask them, we tell them.
Nah, you're right. I mean, Steve, Barry, and myself were just on the phone 2 days ago, and I said the same thing you saying. I said, honestly, none of these situations change without us as a community coming together. If we ain't coming together, like you said, we could talk about everything till we blue in the face. It won't even matter, to be honest. And I said that, and I'm with you. That's the biggest piece that's missing. That's it. That's all. Not until we finally come together, say, you know what, man, we really tired. We're really tired, and we want to group together. What do we want to see? And when that happens, then we're gonna be very powerful. But until then, you absolutely right. And everybody that knows our community is disjointed continuously uses that against us. It's us that haven't decided that we want to come together. So you're right about that.
But we did come to some conclusion that we do need a letter. And we did say that we're going to try to make it a friendly letter. And we did say that even Ella said, well, this looks like something that can definitely come from law enforcement with a heading. So those are the three things that we're looking at proposing for your situation. First and foremost, we definitely need to think about the second line of defense, which will be, if the letter ain't working, what do we do next, Mr. Law Enforcement Agent? Because we could send another letter and ramp it up, but I mean, is that what you really want to do after the first letter? So I mean, are we in on the same?
Well, I would think it's okay. You send the first letter. Okay, so and it continues to happen after the first letter. then action has to be taken from the police department, right?
Right. I would think they have some policies and procedures in place, laws that we know there are laws.
Escalation process.
Right.
But listen now, okay. Now we're gonna bring this to them about this letter. Listen, we're gonna bring this to them about this letter. Okay. Now, second step. What if? Then we gotta go back to them and we gotta tell them, the policemen, we gotta tell them what we want. It ain't about can y'all or will y'all. We can step to them as numbers and tell them this is what we want. If this don't work, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We gotta have a plan for Plan B, and Plan B is
right.
is if they don't comply, then you got to go to the law and make them comply.
There you go.
You know, what is the law state that makes them comply? You know, and that's all we're saying is utilize what we got.
Yeah.
So,
I'm on. I'm y'all know I'm 100 on. Jesus, I think you have to give them 2 requests and 2 letters. First letter is a mild warning. Second letter is a harder warning. And after that, then you take action. Because there is certain things. I don't know if it's still offensive as loud noise, bandy. You know, you tell them cars that had all that loud noise. It had to be a certain loudness.
right.
But now on the car loud noise, you don't know who that is. That just come down the street. Boom, 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 boom. You don't know who that is. You can't report that because you don't know who it is.
Unless it's temporary. I mean, it's very temporary. They're gone. You know. Hopefully, they don't come back through the neighborhood again with the same thing. But there are communities. You better believe it. If they rode through there making that loud noise, by the time they got to the end of the block, they will be stopped. There are communities that are like that.
Right. You're right.
But
see, when you don't have a close-knit connection community, let me tell y'all, one person, and that's me. Mr. Green on the next block over there, Power Peace, he works with me. And I always call him Steve. And I guess Steve said, well, Mr. Jenkins, I live way over here. And here you calling me about wires. But anyway,
that's all good.
I'm just one person. I'm one person over here. And these people don't cooperate with me. So I got to call Steve. I got to call Mr. Gray. Way over on some other block.
Let me ask you this. No one, is there anybody that cooperates with anybody on the block? That's the key. Start with 2.
Mr. Relevant, one where the music is blasted at. The one that I said go on dialysis.
Right.
I have tried to tell him to come to the meeting. He tell me he's so sick he can't make it to the meeting. But the first time they started that music, he called me.
But see,
I can't help you because you don't come to me. So what am I supposed to do?
This goes back to what I was saying a week ago. People got to stop being selfish. They not selfish. Start being selfish. Be selfish about your block. Be selfish that you want beautification on your block. Be selfish that you want a safer block. Be selfish that you don't want all this noise on your block. But don't be selfish when it's only your problem. That's the issue right there. People want all the help when it's there. But and I ain't saying, be selfish. But don't be selfish when it's just your problem.
Yeah.
And I've been seeing this for years. Go ahead, Ms. Jake. I'm sorry.
But that's where I am. That's where I am.
Right. But I mean, we're gonna come together. Let's use our selfish nature to come together to get something positively done, because it happens all the time. I remember we used to do a lot of organizing back in the day, and I'd be like, why these people are not coming out when it's part of their problem? And well, they don't want to. They don't want to be involved in this thing. But soon as something happens to them, Well, can we get them back? Well, you went out here to support the rest of the people. It's okay,
Right.
but you know, let's be selfish about the block, but let's not be selfish about your issue only. You know.
That's right. That's right.
And
But that's how
you know,
it is.
yeah. Now, like you said, it's booming in his ear, but when you ask him to support this other, like I remember you were talking about the people on the front. Did he make the phone? Did he do the phone tree? When you did the phone, when they were out there the other day, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, when they were out there drinking and hanging out on the front?
Mm-mm.
See, that's what I'm saying.
Nope.
It's like he wants your help, but ain't willing to help when it's got to do with the whole block.
Right.
It's right next door to him. Oh, knock down walls. Okay, you know.
Yeah.
Hey, all I can say is
But,
be selfish, but be selfish about your block. I mean,
you know, right.
you know, care about your block. You know, ain't nobody gonna hate you about caring about your block. You might get some people that might help support you with that selfish endeavor. But
Yeah.
it's hard. It's a hard thing now. People have, you know, Barry been saying this for a long time. People becoming more and more isolated. They ain't got nothing to do with COVID. And it's like, man, you are absolutely right. People are becoming more and more, you know, to themselves and not even,
Right.
you know.
That's true. That's true.
I tell her, I got a slogan. I always say, know your neighbor, because one day your neighbor may need you. And hopefully,
That's true too.
hopefully you need them, you know, but somebody got to get to know the person. One step at a time. What you got to say, Felicia? Where you at? You got anything? Anybody? Who is that? Jarvis, you on here? What you know good? Tamika, what you say? I mean, I always go back to.
Hello, everybody. How y'all doing?
All right.
What's up, Tamika?
I listen on YouTube because I'm doing homework and I couldn't speak. So like right before the end, I feel like I should switch over and say what's up. How y'all doing?
That's what's up.
Definitely.
So y'all just don't think I just dropped off MIA.
No.
We got you.
Trust me.
How is class coming?
I'm taking sexuality and society.
Oh, that should be very interesting and confusing.
It's not confusing. It's just that this teacher wants us to write like 5 essays a week for a 5-week class.
Never.
Really?
So it got me on my toes, put it that way.
Yeah,
So let me ask you this, Tamika. What's your take on your neighbors, you know, on neighbors and being neighborly and issues that are arising, you know, in our communities, you know, no matter what community. I know where you're at, but what's your take about that? Do you come to your neighbor with the cranky attitude, or you know, do you come to them with, you know, a symbol of peace and try to see where you can go, or what, you know?
My perspective about anybody is that everybody wants respect, right? But when you set a boundary, you expect people to try to follow them. When you have neighbors who don't respect your boundaries, it's hard. It's hard to figure out how to deal with them or what to do. You know, they're not perfect, and you can't expect people to be perfect, and you can't expect people to always see your views as important or always respect your boundaries. But there should be a way to negotiate to keep it from being a huge problem. But a lot of people, like on my block, I think I have had like right next door to me, 2 people simultaneously moved out their building at the same time. Those buildings were on sale at the same time, right next to each other.
Really?
And I felt like it could have been due to whatever is going on the block. You know what I'm saying? So it's hard to deal with. But, you know, personally, I talk to my neighbors. Some of my neighbors I might not talk to, but that's because they're not approachable to me. I'll go out, you know, y'all know me, I'm friendly. I say hi.
Right.
But when I say hi to you and you keep walking, I might not say hi to you no more. If I say hi to you, You get in your car and close the door to wait until I leave to come out your car.
Man.
Yeah, but you know what I say? You know what I say to that? A whole lot of highs will some way reach somebody, because eventually they're gonna get tired of that. They're gonna say something. They're gonna be like, God damn it, I don't want to hear your highs anymore. Or they're gonna say, you know what? You always hire me. I gotta say something to you. I gotta say how back. So I mean, a high ain't never hurt anybody. You know, you gotta start with the positive, and I get it. Sometimes you feel like you know, I've done my part. Really? Have you really done your part? You know, don't give up on them. They may be hopeless, but still, you know, kill them. What they always say, kill them with kindness. You know,
right? But sometimes you just don't feel like it.
Yeah,
I understand that part of it too. And what y'all was saying about Emmett Till and the fact that they finally found the arrest warrant for her and they hid it for 60 years. To my knowledge, murder doesn't have a time limit.
Right, it doesn't have there's no statute of limitation.
So they're still yet making what excuses?
Facts.
For what they let happen.
Facts. Shit, go get that woman and lock her up. Go get her and lock her up.
They said that also that the policeman or the person that was supposed to deliver,
yeah,
he's still alive also. So he got some culpability there also. You know, there's some issues. There are some issues here, and again, you know, we're dealing with a lot of things in our society where things are becoming how do we say? People Barry said that people are becoming more and more isolated, you know, to each or isolated from each other, and we got to figure out how to bring this back to we can kind of reach each other, man. You know, and even if you need to know where the line is drawn, some people just don't. You know what? I really don't like a lot of company, so I don't speak to a lot of people. But you know what? If you look out for me, I'll look out for you. That's, you know, some people are like that. You can respect that, but just constantly pushing and your music's too loud. You got crazy signs. You over here don't want to say hi. This other one is who is it? Well, we got a few of this. The music too loud. We ain't gonna even talk about the flat out infractions of the laws. You know, like drug dealing right in front of that. You know, hey, you know, can you move the drug dealing over a little bit? You know, it's a lot of things we're dealing with as community, as residents. And then I was watching the thing the other day, and in many places, people don't have fences, and they have only their surveys and their deeds to say where their property lines are. And there have been people that have lived in communities for years and never knew that they had crossed the run. They were encroaching on another person's property by about 5 to 10 feet. And the other person says, no, well, that's not your property. I got my clothesline there. I had to hang my clothes. But it ain't yours because the surveys, but we've been here 50 years and we've always done it that way. But it's not yours. And, well, I just planted a tree and that tree's over there. That's my tree. Well, it's my tree now because it's not on your. I mean, people get into these kind of things. And police is standing there looking at you like, are we done with this yet? No. I got to be able to put a rope here temporarily. Because if they put their foot across, I'm chopping it. You know, it gets to be crazy. And are we in a position as you know, neighbors and community people and Americans to just keep this rolling like that? Man, it's gonna get nasty. Just like the cop told me the other day. He said, man, more and more people got CCW. Ain't nobody breaking in nobody's house. Yeah, but what if something else breaks out? Comments?
Okay, what I don't understand, High Park out there, all these folks came from out of state and out of the suburbs and everything. That little 6-month-old baby got shot the other week. Have you heard anything?
Sad to say, no.
No.
I really haven't heard much more.
But I'm asking you all, listen. Are you all hearing me?
No, I hear you. I know where you're going with it. I know where you're going with it, but I think DeAndre said earlier the reason why Highland Park getting a lot more coverage is because it's in a community that's more affluent, and then there are more people that are white in those communities, and that's
Okay, so our community, I mean, I know it's a norm for us to get shot at and all the babies and all that. Where are the politicians? I haven't had nobody say nothing. This is a baby.
Yeah.
I have every politician just as quiet as a mouse. Where are they?
I'll give you another one. Someone said to me when the black people were shot up in Buffalo, what happened to all the black celebrities? You didn't hear them say anything hardly. Maybe they did it on the internet, but you didn't hear them come out and say, look, wow, how can this happen to people that are like us? And we want to support. Maybe they did. I don't know. We want to give them some support. What happened?
I ain't heard nothing about they did.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, everybody's quiet. Everybody's staying in. You don't hear nothing.
You know what's? Again, this gonna sound crazy, but we seem to find when there's a tragedy and something happens, everybody wants somebody else to give their heart, soul, and everything else to that. But it only seems like it happens to the people when you in that situation, you're looking for that support and you never give it. Just like someone said earlier, I think Ella said, yeah, these high-powered rifles, they're making it so that when they kill people, you can't even have an open casket. That's terrible. I'm saying when you kill people, that's terrible. Open casket, that is.
That's right.
That's a sad thing also, but we've gotten to a point where we actually look at death like in levels. Well, that person died and this person died, and you can't look at them after they're dead. And this person, it's like, wow, we really have to find a reset button in America. We got to find a reset button because, this thing that happened in Highland Park was very tragic, but we become very numb in our communities because
we are.
Because, death comes like a dime a dozen in our, shootings and what have you. And that's sad. That's really sad that we have to live like that. To be honest with you, I lived in Cape Town for years, and I never walked off the block. I drove in, I drove out. I drove to work, and whenever I had to go, I never walked off that block to go around the corner to the store maybe 3 times in 8 years. But it was because, shootings were very prevalent. Something might just happen, and man, it's sad.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Steve?
Yes. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Who's speaking? Go ahead.
Hey, what's up? It's Jarvis, man.
What's going on, Jarvis? Good to hear from you.
Yeah, so first of all, thanks for the invitation. And I was just listening in, and I just wanted to share. When I think about a lot of the issues, it's just the fact that I think, as the lady mentioned earlier, the community has really changed over the years. And, when I think about a community, there's a really good book out. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Because the community is, in effect, like a team. And so this author, he describes these 5 dysfunctions, and I'll just rattle them off real quick. He says at the base of any good team, community, if you have absence of trust, then everything is going to falter. So, trust has got to be the foundation.
Right.
And then the other thing he mentions, which is really interesting about community that we're talking about here, fear of conflict. So if people don't feel there's an open avenue to have a good discussion, or they're just afraid of the repercussions, maybe they're legitimately scared. If they say something about their neighbors, there might be retaliation, or they just don't feel comfortable. The third pillar is lack of commitment. So this often happens when, people don't want to get behind one another or just take a position.
Right.
And oftentimes, for example, people say, "Oh man, that's not for me," or "I wouldn't have did it like that." And then, like Barry said, a year later, time's go by, nobody's gotten behind a solid position.
Ain't nothing happened.
Everybody wants to do it their own way, or they don't want to just do it at all.
Until it happens to them.
Yeah. And then the fourth is avoidance of accountability. Nobody wants to take ownership. Like it was mentioned earlier, yeah, it might not be your problem today, but it could be your problem tomorrow.
Right.
And so we all have to, we're all accountable. We all have to have that sense of, it's a responsibility for me, even though it's not my yard, it's my community.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
right.
There was this, I don't know if you ever heard Colin Powell. He had this thing that said, within X amount of days of having, my troops turned over to me, it becomes my problem. I own the sheets all the way down to the beds in the barracks. I own the sheets.
Right.
No hands, ifs, or buts. I'm accountable fully. I can't blame the last guy who lives in the neighborhood 10, 20 years ago. It's mine now. I own it.
That's right. That's right.
So that's the mindset we have to have.
And you know how you get that mindset? It's typical. You know how you get that mindset with community? You have to walk the walk and talk the talk. And you have to set an example for people to take heed to. And sometimes, even when you set the example, you might have to pull their coattail and say, hey, check this out. We're not really doing it like that. You mind helping me do it like this? You always got to make people feel included. You have to make them feel included. Because if you come with them sideways, you're going to have some problems.
That's right. And then the last dysfunction this guy talked about was inattention to results. So you can do all those other things, but if you don't get down with a specific call to action and saying, hey, by this date, this is going to be, what we get done, then like the gentleman said earlier, you'll find yourself 10, 20 years down the road and nothing's changed.
Right, right. So you have to set timelines and point of actions. Of course.
Yep.
I definitely agree with that. We would, I don't know if you caught on, but we would start it off with talking about what happened in what is it? What's Highland Park?
Yeah, Highland Park.
It's been on the news every day, national news every day. And I'm like, I get national news because, it happened in Texas, it happened in Alabama, it happened in New York, everywhere. But my thing is, how come when we get in Chicago, 30 to 50 people get shot every weekend? Between 30 to 50 every weekend, and this has been going on for over 10 years. How come no one brings any national, notoriety to it or attention?
Oh,
yeah, I checked the statistics on that one for Chicago. We had 951 as of May, from May to January to May of this year. We had 951 people shot. In Chicago. That's just in Chicago. We don't count the shootings that happen in Deerfield and the ones that happen in Oak Park and the ones that happen in Bolingbrook and so forth that have happened. But it's just, like I said, it's an epidemic that really weird to say. When you live in a crime-riddled community, you kind of go, man, that's it. That's all.
So as we get ready to start winding down, what I want to do is say, Barry is absolutely right when he says that we got to figure out what the solutions come in at. And I know particularly for Miss Jacobs' issue that was brought up tonight, she was saying, we was going to look at this potentially, getting a letter drafted, talking to the officers and seeing, can they deliver said letter? Can we get the community organizer a piece of that? I mean, that's just but one way of potentially doing something. So I do want to say, I also, is Barry still on?
Barry's still there.
So I wanted to get Barry back on and go back to what he was saying and ask him outside of because he also talked about the two items he had for the officers, trying to figure out, this whole car situation with the officers. But in addition to what else, I want to know what else does Barry think we should be utilizing the show for? And I want to preface that by saying that when we come to the show, it's again, our show is West Side People Talking West Side, so we're talking about these things that happen, in our community, and we yes, and we've talked about them enough. But I do think it gives opportunity for people to connect with people they've never been able to connect with before, and find out some resources, information, and so we want to keep that part. But I also want to, speaking to that, ask Barry, what else does he think we should be adding as it relates to solutions?
And everybody else on. We'll go.
Yeah, and everybody.
We'll just go ahead and let everybody chime in conclusion.
So I think that it would be great if DeAndre, all the different topics that you discuss, all the projects that you're involved in, if somehow you were to make a list of those projects, and the same with Steve, and the same with all of us, and then we put it together in a package of what we as a community are creating. Now, if you want, I would like to see you all call that building the plan for Peacebrook. But if you're not comfortable using Peacebrook, doesn't matter, as long as we get it organized. All the different things that are going on that can build our community, so we can get a picture of what we're creating. Because right now, in my view, so much of it seems chaotic.
I got you.
I think it would be particularly helpful for people outside the community to get a better picture of what's going on the West Side. Because the only picture outsiders are getting are the pictures that the media are putting out there. And that's not a very inspiring, it's a fearful picture that keeps people from doing business with people on the West Side.
Barry, really quick, go ahead and talk about Connect for 10, really quick.
Connect for 10 is something that Mark Leeson had conceived of, and July 24th, the fourth Sunday at 4, we're going to come together. We're asking all people from the West Side and the near West Side, the greater West Side, to come together for 10 minutes and share time with each other, be present for each other, people who wouldn't ordinarily be in one another's presence. And just stay the 10 minutes and then you can leave. It would be a Zoom call. And if you want to, you can stay for the next 10 minutes. And in that 10 minutes, we're going to have an inspiring speaker talk about us as a community. And if you want to stay even further, you can get into a conversation with people who are active on the West Side and get to know each other and get to know what each of you is up to. So it's a way of further connecting. But it begins with just 10 minutes on Sunday, 4th Sunday at 4 p.m.
And in that 10 minutes, what are we going to do?
The first 10 minutes of the first session, we're going to come together and call out the names of a loved one who's no longer with us. And we'll go around the circle, so to speak, just calling out names and being present with each other.
Right.
So we're supporting each other in our loss.
Right. Okay. Sounds good. Ella, you got anything in conclusion?
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing.
Okay, go ahead.
And the details will be listed in the Peacebrook calendar. if you Google Peacebrook calendar, Peacebrook is one word. Peace, like you know what peace is, the opposite of violence, and brook. It's kind of like Oak Brook, but Peacebrook.
That's right.
One word.
Right. And then there'll be emailed the directions for Connect for 10, right? Email or,
yes,
or
but then
text.
we need to know their email address. Just let us know in any way how to
Connect with
how to get the info to you.
Okay. Sounds good. Ella, you got something? In conclusion?
No, except that, we can't make someone participate in a community or become community minded. A lot of times people won't come forth unless something happened to them or they need assistance from other people. Yeah. We can't make them, so all we can do is keep reaching out to them. Hopefully they'll come around, because I have neighbors on my block who don't want to get involved. There was a hit and run accident on North Avenue. Police found the car in front of one of my neighbor's house, and she has a ringtone. And he asked her if he could look through it to see who that person was that got out of that car. Okay? She told him, no, I don't want to be bothered. To slam the door in his face. Oh, my goodness. See, you can't make people be community oriented.
No.
Right.
You right.
You saw the girl got out the car, but where she went, the police don't know. But you can't force people to do what we want them to do.
Yeah.
We have to meet them on their terms.
Yeah.
And just keep reaching out, keep communicating with them, either by block club letter or however you want to do it until they come over, because they're not going to do anything.
Right. And the reason they're not going to do it because they don't trust the police.
I didn't hear you.
I say the reason they're not doing it is because they don't trust the police. I talked to some higher brass about, having a tip hotline and the higher ups. Higher ups. He was like, well, we got that in the city. I'm like, but you got a lot of mistrust and distrust.
I can agree with that, but this person don't participate in nothing, whether it's police or anybody else. So I can't say that for her. Now maybe somebody else, but not for this person.
I got you. We got you, but you know what? Like I said, selfishness is only going to take you so far.
Yeah. Well, when she needs help, she's going to ask for some help.
Oh,
so,
yeah. I already know who it is. I already know who it is. For sure.
Oh, man, that's too busy complaining.
Yeah.
And then another thing, we have some Latinos who don't get involved or participate in anything.
Right.
And that's on every block. In our community, the less participation we have with them. They won't speak. They rush out the car, run in the house, and pretend they don't see nobody.
Yeah.
Now, that's on the block. That's on every block.
But
we gotta deal with that.
But what's sad to say, they don't really talk to each other either.
Well.
Yeah. I'm not making that a good thing. I'm not saying that's a good thing, but
that are willing to participate and forget about the ones that don't want to participate.
They don't. Can't do nothing with them.
I hear you. All right, next person. Alicia, you got anything in conclusion?
Yes, I was just saying, you just worry about the people that will participate, because I don't know, people got so many different attitudes, and I wouldn't want to deal with that attitude anyway. Because you're just going to stress yourself out, worrying about who's going to do this or who's going to. Only thing you can really do is worry about yourself, and if you can get people to work with you, that's a good thing. But the ones that don't want to participate, that you really can't force anyone to do anything. But they should want to participate and live in this community. But sometimes things just a lost cause. You just have to move on to who will participate.
Start with one. Start with one. That's all we need is one. Now you got two. And remember, we said if we got at least 10%, and most blocks are 36 to 24 homes, so you get 3 to 4 people. Hey, we started somewhere.
I'm gonna say this one thing. I'm like, I wish these neighbors behind me would stop complaining and participate, because I've had this neighbor moved over here, not too, she ain't been living over here maybe about 4 years. Because Mr. Charlie, he passed away. I think he was like a police or something. He was a retired older man.
Right.
And I had to read about that in the paper. But anyway, I wish they would participate and stop complaining, because I have them writing notes. It's only the neighbors behind me.
Right.
They won't introduce themselves, none but they're harassing, because this lady cut my whole internet line in 2019. And so this is it's just crazy. And I got a neighbor complaining about the carts in the street. Well, when the garbage man empties the garbage, she needs to put the carts back on the sidewalk where they belong. Don't leave them all. Then they cause like confusion with the neighbors or whatever. I mean, sometimes people live on the block so long, they're territorial and bossy and think they can control everybody that moves in. That's not right.
Yeah, I spoke about that a little bit with the survey lines on the property. People put a tree on the other person's property, and it's still my property because I put the tree there. No, look at your survey.
Yeah, a lot of neighbors just petty like that. I just stay out of everybody. Where if they speak to me, I speak to them, or if I speak to them, they don't say nothing. I'm like, okay, God bless them. You can't worry about all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Because life is already stressful enough.
You know when you got decent neighbors when they ask the question, hey, how is it here? Or when the other neighbor says, let me tell you how it is over here. You know, when the new neighbors come and the old, it just takes a little working with, I think.
Yes, it's just the neighbors that's behind me on West End, because the neighbors on my street, they don't bother, they don't bother me or whatever. It's just the neighbors, instead of introducing themselves, I guess they want to act like they want to bully you or something because you're younger or something, because a lot of people are like elderly on up in the age or whatever, and you may be a younger homeowner. People think they can bully you or whatever. I don't know. But I just stay in my house. As long as they don't come on my property harassing me.
Yeah, but we want to build bridges. That's the big picture. Build a bridge, not a wall. It didn't work for Trump, so I don't think it's gonna really work. So, anything, Jarvis, in conclusion?
Yes, Steve, it's just like I said, it is it's a community, it's a team sport.
That's the name of the book.
I agree with what was just said. Not everybody's going to want to come along for the ride, but as long as you are making a conscious effort, not so much focusing on what is, you have to identify the problem to get to the solution, but definitely focus on, where you want to be as a community. What kind of community do you want to have? And you're taking conscious steps, and you got a set of results and a call to action, then you can see some progress.
Absolutely. What was the name of the book again?
The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team.
5 Dysfunctions of a Team. Okay. Sounds good.
And the foundation of that is what we all been talking about, which is trust. You don't have trust, nothing else is going to matter.
That's true. That is true. Okay, Miss J, you got anything for us?
Yes, I got something.
What you got?
DeAndre.
Yep.
I'm applauding you to get this. I'm just requesting. That's up to you to get this proposal together and set it up to whereas we can organize, we can come together, and we can meet with the big people. We'll have our stuff together.
We're gonna need a lot of letters for your block. We need to open a post office at the end of your block because we got to give a lot of people letters over there. You know what I'm saying?
Does that make sense?
Oh yeah.
No, I hear you. It's funny. My brothers, I talk a lot about, this idea that us as the smaller organizations, the smaller people that's willing to do it right now, if we came together and showed other people how it's done, had a proof of concept, so to speak, then more people would be willing because they would see that it's being done and we're capable of it. And I was telling my brothers and them about it. Hey, man, you can't keep proposing that if you ain't coming to the table with the proposal. I'm like, oh man, why it gotta be me, man? You know. But I hear you, Miss Jacobs. That's what it makes me think about. It makes me think about what my brothers and them saying too. Like, man, you got if you saying that's what need to happen, get it together, and people they'll join you. So I hear you. All I ask is that just be patient with me while I finish this process of school, because I got some ideas, but I'm really giving deference to school to get that out the way. I'm gonna be honest with you.
We'll talk about that, Mr. Me, you, and DeAndre. We'll talk about how we need to coordinate this and this stuff. Because you know who the players are in this situation, and we just gotta set the checkerboard up. That's all. Tamika, I think she said you did say something.
Can I add something?
Sure, go ahead, Barry, really quick.
So it seems to me that we are the demonstration, and that first dysfunction or required function is trust, and it's trust among us. If we trust each other, then we are the beginning, and we are the proof of concept. And then if we put down and organize everything we all are doing, then that's part of a functional community that we would be demonstrating.
For sure. I totally believe that.
Thank you.
No problem. Arnold, you got anything in conclusion?
DeAndre.
Yes.
The reason why you know how you ask, why do you have to depict, get it started?
Yeah.
I heard a summit a couple of days ago that's been on my mind, and it said that 85 other people are willing to be followers, 10% of the people are willing to be leaders, and 5% of the people are willing to observe what's actually going on. Okay? But the 95% of the people are always taking away the value from the person who's observing what's going on because they don't want the truth to be known. So the reason why you have to start it is because you already see the problem.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure you just don't see a problem and don't see part of a solution.
Right. I feel like.
And as active as you are in the community and what your goals are, I'm pretty sure you have something up there, and I agree. We have to wait until we finish school so we can start
you feel me?
showing momentum.
Right. But for real though, that's real though, because it's like the attention is really in this general area because it's such a big part of life right now. You know what I mean?
That's for sure.
Yeah. But we're gonna get there though. I'm dead serious about getting there. So we're gonna get there. That's for sure.
Dan the man, I see my man Dan on the line. You got anything in conclusion you want to add, Dan? I saw you typing up a few things. I don't know if anybody's seen it on the Zoom, some of the comments.
Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Yes, indeed. What you know, Dan?
Yeah, I think it's, I'm a white guy, so I think it's, for me, inclusion is just going outside my circle of, I have mostly white friends, and then to remind my family to do the same thing as well. That's inclusion. That's where we can help. And that leads to this understanding, this imbalance of how many Black folks get killed every day. It's way more than what's happening. It's a tragedy, yes, but it's frustrating for me to see it overshadow what happens every day in Chicago.
Yes, it becomes people become unconscious to it. That's the bad part.
And numb. You guys were talking about even how the Black community's numb to it, right? So that numbness, we got to not let that block things.
Right. Absolutely. Can't let it block.
And
Dan,
let me speak.
Okay, go ahead.
July 24th, Connect for 10 is an easy way to invite people to just get a taste of the West Side.
All right. Oh yeah. Where's that at? Is that the?
If if you Google Peacebrook calendar, Peacebrook like Oak Brook, but Peacebrook in one word.
Okay. Thank you.
July 24th, 4 p.m. for 10 minutes.
That's right. And it's gonna be Zoom. Sounds like a mass shooting was racially motivated. We were talking about in regards to the last one, Felicia. That's what you mean. Sounds like it was racially motivated. I'm sure it was, but I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm sure it was because whatever happened, what did happen in Highland Park, they didn't really put that out yet. So.
Yes, 3 of the victims were. I saw 3 of the pictures. There were 3 younger black people. So I'm trying to figure out what the other 3 people look like.
In Highland Park?
Just better sense. Yes, I saw the pictures on the news the other day.
Wow, I didn't know any black people were.
Yes, I saw, but I'm like, okay, what the other 3 people look like then? So then I could get a better. Okay, if he got a special. Yeah, if he's using a special weapon to see people and stuff, I mean, he's just picking off black people.
No, I know there was some Jewish. There were Jewish people. There was some
black. They showed it on the
Spanish-speaking
news a few days ago. I'm like, okay, where's the other 3 victims at? So I could see what they look like and get a better understanding. But as far as I saw, it was 3 of them that were black.
Well, there were Spanish-speaking.
It does seem like it was targeted. It's so far I've seen the black folks, Jewish folks, and Latinx folks.
Oh, that's horrible.
Yeah, it is
But
horrible.
they only, I only saw 3 black people they showed, but I'm like, okay, where's the other 3 victims that show them all and that they don't want you to release their identity or something?
Sad.
Yeah, sad. we just kind of brought this up because we didn't talk about this on the last show because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It happened on a Monday, and we don't want to continue on this path, but we have our community issues, our neighborly issues that we need to kind of resolve, and I think everybody come together. Hey, we take it from wherever we can get it. If people want to support and help, we just transfer that help to the people that need it, and try to spread it around.
Yeah. All of this stuff is just a result of black dysfunction. Honestly, I mean, the when we start to come together and care about one another more than we care about ourselves or our material things, then we gonna move the needle. I got a piece that I do in my poetry, my spoken word, and I talk about revolution. And the underlying theme about this idea of revolution is that it's about unity. Unity, literally, like unity is the revolution that we need, period. And I mean, that could go for all people. That could go for all races, all community groups, whomever, but especially for this community because we are being picked apart because others prey on our dysfunction. They understand that we're not unified and they will use that against us. That is a tactic. It has always been one and will continue to be one until we figure out how to come together in the way we need to. So when we talk about this idea of coming together, as Ms. Jacobs was saying, she said, hey, DeAndre, you got to be the one. And I'm not against that because a long time ago, I decided to be a leader. And that meant taking on a lot of responsibilities that, that I have to, you know what I mean? Because that's it is what it is.
But we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool.
He's busy. And I got some input on it also, but we need to sit with Miss Jacobs because again, you always need that person that's right there in the middle of the situation to give you the recon, to give you the recon. What is it called? Recon, right? When you check
recon, sit rep situation report. Yeah.
So we'll figure it out. We got you, man.
Yeah, but I mean, even to the point though, when I talk about unity and coming together, I mean. We're talking about coming together to be a powerful unit so that we could change the face of the politics in the community, the economics in the community, the relationships of the community. We have to create whatever this entity is going to be that can be an example for other people to follow along so they can see that it's quite possible. We literally have to create this idea of Peacebrook here on the West Side. You know what I mean? And if it's not going to be the name of Peacebrook, it has to be something that people can get behind, that they feel a part of, and that they want to be a part of, because they know that it's necessary to move us past wherever we are currently. So, yeah, we're going to get to working. I don't have much left by way of school, I want to add. But, you know, these are the critical times. I'm almost done, I promise you. So, actually, I'll be done by December or March of next year. I've already marked it on my calendar. You know what I mean? So that way we can start having conversations. So the conversations will start, and we just have to figure out what that means. And I've been asking these questions of various people, you know what I mean, that's politically connected, that's civically connected, that's economically connected, so that we could figure out what do we need to do, how do we need to do it, and, you know, let's create it, you know. So that being said, I want to say, listen, thank y'all all for always coming out, tuning in with us. You know what I mean? We do this thing every Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. You know, we just having these conversations because they matter. This is West Side people talking West Side things, you know what I mean? And you can always check us out with our various channels. We got the Facebook, the YouTube, and the Zoom. If you're on the YouTube or that Facebook, make sure you subscribe. Make sure you share so people know what we're talking about up here. Make sure you comment, because if you do, we can bring it right into the show, and you don't have to be visually or vocally inside the show to be a part of the show. And make sure you what was the last one? Oh, make sure you like it. Make sure you like it just because you like us. You know, keep us in the algorithm. Keep us going. That being said, man, in closing, I always like to say, listen, we got some open seats here at the table. All we trying to do is welcome everybody home. Thank y'all for allowing us to welcome you to Northwest Austin Council. Have a good night.
Good night, all. Take it easy.